Hello again, and welcome to the online classroom. Pleasure to hear and see you all again. So, today we're going to be moving straight into it and continuing on from our last lesson, which was how environmental factors influence our perceptions of livability. And today we are going to move on from what we were doing last time and start looking at how those resources in regards to environmental factors influence our perceptions. So, let's move on. So, before we really start, we have to review what natural resources are. Now, you might remember this from when we were doing it in year 7, but we're just going to touch over it again just so we're sure we know. Okay? So, natural resources are things that we use that are provided by the environment. This can be something as simple as the wood that comes from a tree. Now, we divide natural resources into 3 categories: renewable, non-renewable, and continuous. Now we're going to go through all of those 3 categories, okay? But you're going to need to know what those 3 categories are because they will come up quite often in this topic and also in year 9 and 10. So natural resources are a big thing for geography. So let's keep on going. So, words to know. These are definitely words that you want and definitely words that you should have in your books along with the definitions. So let's have a look at our words, okay? First of all, biophysical processes. These are natural functions of the environment. So a biophysical process can be something as simple as photosynthesis or even something like the water cycle. It's just stuff that the environment will do by itself, okay? Now the second one is replenish/replenishment. So whenever we see these words, what we're saying is you're replacing what is used so you have the same amount as what you started with. The easiest way to explain replenishment is this. You have a cup of water. You drink half a cup of water. Now you're going to fill that cup back up so it's full again, so you are going to replenish it. You're going to replenish the half of the water that you drank. So it's taking what you used and putting it back. Okay? The third one is infinite/infinitely. So we know generally what infinite means. It means without end. There's no end to it. And its opposite, finite, which means there is an end. Okay? It will end eventually. So let's keep going. So let's dive in further into renewable. Okay? Now, what are renewable resources? Well, renewable resources are resources that we can use almost infinitely, so almost, due to them being replenished in a short amount of time. And we say short amount of time, we mean relatively short amount of time. So it could be hours, days, months, or a couple of years. Okay? Because remember, we're talking geography time here. And geography time can be anything from a couple of hours to millennia or thousands of years. So in this case, it's a relatively short amount of time. A good example of this is water, which can be replaced by the biophysical process called the water cycle. So water is a great example of a renewable resource. Okay? We know that water will eventually come back down to us or back up to us eventually. Okay, no matter how much we use. Okay, whether it comes back in the same fashion or in the same speed, that's a bit different, but we know that it'll eventually come back. So we know that if we use the water, it will come back up and go through this cycle. Okay, that's why it's a renewable resource, because it will keep on coming back to us after a time. Okay, and not too long of a time that we'll never ever see it again. Okay, so that's what renewable means. Now, non-renewable resources are resources that take hundreds or sometimes millions of years to form. We may use these resources, but we cannot reasonably expect them to replenish in our lifetimes. A good example of this is coal and oil, which takes thousands of years to form underneath the earth from decaying plants and animals. So things like this coal, okay, we use coal a lot in Australia and especially a lot in the other countries surrounding us. And we use it to power all of our energy, electricity, factories, everything like that. Okay, we burn it and we dig it up from the ground. Now, although we can find lots of it at the moment, it takes thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of years for it to make. Some of this coal is so old that we're using it from the Jurassic period when dinosaurs were walking around. Okay, so we'll keep on using it, but it's possible one day we will run out. Okay, because it takes so long to remake. And it will remake stuff eventually, but not in our lifetime, not even in our grandchildren's lifetime. Okay, let's keep on going. Continuous resources. Well, continuous resources are resources that are available continuously, but at a limited rate. There will always be a lot of them, but we have no way to affect their constant supply. A good example of this is wind. Some days it will be windy, other days not. However, you will never run out of wind. Okay, so we notice some days in Sydney alone, it's incredibly windy. You can barely walk forward without getting blown away. And other times, there's barely any wind. Okay, it's very still. But just because it's still does not mean that the wind has suddenly disappeared and it's never going to appear again. We know that it's definitely going to appear again. Okay, and we know that the wind is still there. It's just there at a very, very slow rate. Now, these things here, these are wind farms, okay, wind turbines. And when propellers turn around, because they're turned by the wind, it generates electricity or energy. And then you harvest this energy and put it into batteries. Okay? So wind is a continuous resource. We're never going to run out of wind, but we're not exactly sure when it's always going to happen. Okay? Now, what I want you to do, I want you to copy this table in your books, and I want you to go through these three categories. Okay, so we've been through the three categories of the resources. Okay, and I want you to do these two. Okay, so rate of replenishment for renewables. Okay, if you look back in the slides, it will tell you how long it takes to replenish. Okay, for each and every one, and I want you to think of an example for each one as well. Even better if you can get an example that wasn't on the PowerPoint. Okay, you got a gold star for that one. So I'll give you, let's say, 5 minutes for that. Okay, try and do that within 5 minutes. I'll be quiet for 10 seconds. You can pause the video. So hopefully you'll finish that and we will move on. So here's what I want you to do next, okay? If you go into the website that is attached to this video, you'll see it in the description box, okay? You'll also be able to see it in your Google Classroom post. You are going to complete the crossword for the rest of this lesson. That's it, okay? So you're going to complete the crossword and then we're going to upload it next lesson. Now, when you're uploading, you can either upload as a picture or you can just scan the actual thing. But I want to see some. Okay, so you can take a picture of your phone or you can scan it, whatever. But I want you to upload it in the proper drop-off point. Okay, we will go through the answers next lesson. But I want you to have something submitted. Okay, top work. And I hope you are staying safe and secure. And I hope you are happy. Have a great day.